Welcome everybody back to another Boldcast reaction. I'm Carson.
I'm Lindsay.
And this is the finale for Season 1, possibly ever, of God of High School. Yeah, what a road it's been. What happened last time?
Last time we had Honorable Grandfather, teleporting people away
the entire population of Seoul, one of the biggest cities in the world.
Onto like a hilltop kind of close by.
Yeah. And
but
apparently
it was impressive nonetheless.
Somebody in the comments said that he neutralized the nuclear
material
effects.
Or whatever.
But I don't know how that works, because that's what makes it explode. Like, that you can't have it explode and not have the fallout, because they're one and the same. That's the point of a nuclear bomb. It uses nuclear energy to explode shit. Anyway,
it's an anime, so I'll accept it for now.
I don't know how God could have survived that. Is my point. Or the people of Seoul. But by the way, I just want to say, he had the weakest shitty little wand of all time. It looked like a literal... Do I have a pen? It looked like a pen. It looked like this. His wand.
Okay, however, as a point in his favor, if I were able to use magic and I needed a wand, I would prefer to have a small one so that, like, either
especially modern day,
people wouldn't notice it, or you could just carry it in your pocket.
Yeah.
You don't need, like, a fucking, like... I don't know how long the wands are in Harry Potter, like, relatively long.
Yeah, but it didn't, like, all the cool wands in Harry Potter, like, Bellatrix has that crazy, crooked, like, windy, spindly wand. It looks really cool. It's like, oak. It's not oak. Whatever, it's wood. Regardless, the wand comparison to other ones I've seen, pretty shit tier wand, as far as aesthetics alone. But that has nothing to do with this episode.
Also, Jagal turned into a baby and then turned into an angel of death.
Yeah, once again, anime, for the last, like, climactic moment of a season or of an arc, has, like, this larger-than-life, you know, gods involved. It's this Revelations apocalypse-esque thing where forces beyond our understanding are, like, are enacted upon the world, and are things going to be the same ever again? It's, like, the most classic thing of all time. But not unlike the rest of the show, I guess. He did turn into a baby.
After we got his backstory of that he was adopted because his mom sold him to some old guy. And then he ate his adoptive father.
With the powers given him by Nox.
Yeah, with the creepy powers that's apparently not even a shark. The shark was a fake out.
The shark was a fake out?
Well, it wasn't his, like, real thing that he's now using.
I feel like what he's doing now is more of a Kekkei Genkai sort of thing. I can't tell if he still has the shark.
Yeah,
I feel like he's evolved past the shark. But the thing is, he had that goopy shit in him the whole time, right?
Well, I thought maybe...
since the start of the season, he's had both. He's had the capacity to do the... We've only saw him do the shark thing until it was convenient for him to not use the shark thing and use this power-up. Anyway. Regardless, we're getting into it. We've said we want this show to continue. Out of this and Tower of God, we personally enjoyed this more. While we do understand that, like, the source material for Tower of God is far more in-depth as far as characters and the strength of writing and metaphor and stuff like that. We actually talked about that in our Tower of God reactions. But as far as the adaptation, just what we're watching, if we had to pick one... And you said this before as well. If we had to pick one to come back, we would probably pick this one.
That's without seeing the, like, third one in this series,
which we're going to be watching on our channel. So if you want to stay tuned for that, we're going to be watching that next season. So with that, we're going to get into this. Hope you guys subscribe to stay for Noblesse reactions and a bunch of other stuff. We have an announcement on our community tab if you want to see the other shows we're going to be reacting to. But yeah, hope you subscribe and like the video, and we're just going to get right into this. God of High School, episode 13. Let's go.
I'm gonna miss the opening.
Yeah, me too. I hope they played for the last one. They probably won't.
They better. Yeah.
They
have to.
They literally have to.
They have to.
It's too good.
It's so good. God?
God. Last episode was Fox God. This episode is God. So God's dissolving. He looks way more jacked than he did before. Here we go. Waste no time. Do it right now.
Oh my god, he's so fast.
Oh, he said it. He said what Ilpio said. Went full circle. It's all coming together. It's all coming down to this. Everything. Holy shit!
Oh my god.
The CG background. This is insane. I'm glad that they aren't just like sidelining it.
I know. I was just gonna say they're still in it. It's
not for
awesome.
long,
not
but
for long,
at least they're actually
yeah.
fighting. Like they aren't getting like knocked aside and Mori has to take it over. Well, we'll see.
Where did that come from? Oh, I don't like those things.
We saw them.
I know, but I don't like them. Oh,
yeah, me either.
Damn. I love the colors on that.
Yeah. No. Fuck off, dude. No fucking way. There he is. Sun Wukong, the Monkey King. He's wearing like a tiger cloak. That's the name. That's his staff. Nyoibo. How do you say it? Oh
fuck.
shit! It's finally here.
It's huge.
Yeah. It's a godly weapon. Yeah. The key's guardian.
Ooh.
Satan Taisei. I wonder what the translation is on that. Are you sure you want to know what this power is?
Seems like you maybe don't. Oh, this fight is already so epic. It's been like 5 minutes into the show.
Wasting no time.
And this music is just awesome. It's so hype.
Fucking You Say Run. Scuffed You Say Run. Back at it again. All this sounds different. That's the thing, it can extend and shrink at will, like without him having to give the command. It's like a part of him. And it's sharp, apparently.
No, he's just so strong. It's just blasting through them.
Dude.
Holy shit.
Let us upheave the land with our battle.
I mean, good thing the city was already destroyed.
They're still going.
Cool.
How fucking high up were they?
Oh my god, that is awesome.
This is fucking crazy. What now?
Oh my god. Holy shit. You totally called it.
Yep, called it from episode 4 with having no fucking experience with this. What the hell, Jaggle? Are you still standing like that? Why?
Hungry. Why is he so shiny?
Yeah, why is he so shiny? They look like the fucking Urukai being born. Was not expecting that! What the fuck is that? What is that? Come on, Mira, this is yes, this is perfect for you.
And once again, there's...
It's over.
Oh.
It's over. You have no need for it. You gotta leave it to your friends. They can do it. If they fucking do this without him,
Gonna be the...
that'd be perfect. Ilpio. Exactly. Exactly. Just to close it out. Giant fight sequence, that's epic. Holy shit, dude. Oh, he petrified him with one last act.
Oh, that's so cool.
He didn't apologize. That fucker. Please, God, no. Stay lost, please. What does that mean?
Oh.
The sixth summoning. One of the six was there. Who is that? Is this one of the other, like, guardians? Like, one of the other 4?
Thought it was just one of the 6 that we didn't meet yet.
I think we met all 6. And she called him an ape.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought we met all 6.
They still don't know.
The least you could do is explain things. Well, fuck. Welcome to our world.
Oh. That was the thing. You can have a wish. I completely...
Wait. I forgot about that as well. Wait. I think he gets the wish, but there are people maimed permanently. But he might be dead. Help the other guys out with the missing limbs. Yes, thank God. Holy shit. And put everything back to the way it was. Fix his soul. Pretty convenient, but they did set that up like way in advance. Oh, they didn't fix soul. They just fixed the people. Okay. Aww. Just a smidge too late there, friendo. That sucks. Is that just what Mori looks like now? Okay, never mind. As soon as I say that. Oh, God's still crumbling in the distance. More politics. Ah, shit. Three months.
Oh, damn.
Holy shit, I want some fucking lobster, some crab right now.
Oh shit, now they have to go get them.
Ah, so this was the prologue. This is the real story. The taboo. To forego equivalent exchange. To surpass gods.
Oh.
Jintai-jin? Yeah. That's a really cool end card. Fuck. So now he's gonna be like controlled by them, sacrificed.
And he's gonna be like made into a new god.
Does that say great big? What does that
gift
say? Oh, that's the author. Damn. So great ending to a season that, like, yeah, perfect way to end it. Perfect way to end it. Even if you're just leaving it, I'm way more likely to read this than I was to read Tower of God. And I'm way more likely to just read this because I'm just interested in what's going to happen next. I'm interested at, like, it's called God of High School, but now there's no God of High School tournament. Now they're just like he's a god from high school basically, and that's it. Which I guess was the thing the whole time. I need to Google Satan Tyson. What are you thinking?
That was a great final episode because they didn't tie it off with like, oh, this is the complete end, but they didn't like just hype up what's coming next and not end off the arc that we were on, you know?
Yeah. Okay. So that's the Satan Taisei is the Japanese name for Sun Wukong.
Okay. So yeah, I liked the whole thing was just good. This whole episode was just good. And we didn't, like, I don't necessarily like, you know, if a series is just hyping up what's coming next. But I like the way that they sort of mix that with, like, wrapping it up and leading up to what happens next, whether or not that ever gets animated or it just, you know, it's just, you kind of want to read it.
Yeah.
And it's not like, oh, you have to read it to be able to actually enjoy this story. You were able to enjoy, at least for us personally, I know some people disagree, but for, like, I found that I was able to enjoy this the entire way along, without really needing extra information.
Yeah. We didn't need to, like, it felt like there's always a big tendency with people who've read the source material of anything to, like, jump in and be like, oh, just because the show didn't explain it, here's an explanation. Now you can go forward and enjoy it to its fullest potential. With this show, that didn't feel as necessary. It didn't feel like we were, like, you know, if we never look at comments for this type of thing. But it seemed like people didn't always feel like they needed to explain the show for the show. They needed to fight the show's battles as far as giving us information. Because the show didn't need to give you all this fucking crazy information for you to understand what was going on. It relied a lot more on convention, and that's not a bad thing, because the point of using a convention is so that you don't have to go through all this bullshit of explaining everything. It makes your job way easier so you can tell the story you want to tell. That's the whole point of using it, and they used it really well. And it was cool, and I liked it.
Yeah, I just want to talk about this episode specifically more, and then maybe we can give a series review.
I feel like I just did, but we can talk about the episode.
Oh, okay. I just want to talk about how awesome it was that all the side characters didn't stay on the sidelines during the fight, like, until it got completely out of hand, and they couldn't have helped anyway.
Yeah.
But anytime before that, they were, like, fully in there fighting. Yeah. Just as much as Mori was before he, like, literally turned into a god and was fighting at another level. But before that and after that, they were all willing to help regardless of what was going on. And
they weren't so outclassed.
Like, yeah, they weren't, even though Jagal was unbelievably powerful, and, you know, the only person who could have tired him out to that point was probably Mori. Unless you had, like, a million people, like, fighting him for a long time. Mm-hmm. But they weren't just getting slaughtered by him, you know, nonstop. Yeah. They were all powerful enough that it was actually somewhat of a fair fight, of the three of them at normal versus Jagal at his, like, crazy demon power.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm glad about that too. I like that. I like how after the crazy fight, because there's always the thing with guys like that, with guys who are, like, in shows or whatever, it's always like, oh, I'm perfect. I am the ultimate being, this and that, and then they get defeated, and then they get resentful, and just before they're defeated, they, like, morph into this abomination that's happened in a few series that I can point to, but I don't want to spoil that, obviously. There's one big shonen that that if people think about it, they'll probably know what I'm talking about. Not Naruto, but yeah. Anyway, it's happened in a bunch of shit. It happens all the time. It's a really common trope, but that's fine. But it happened. But it just so happens that, like, Mori was fucking totally spent. He wasn't able to call upon the same level of power. Which, by the way, real quick, someone in the comments said this earlier. But I was kind of spoiled, but not really, because we kind of already knew. Everyone kind of knew that he was Sun Wukong. But Sun Wukong can copy shit. Mm-hmm. Did you see that?
I saw that as well.
Yeah, so Sun Wukong can copy everything. That's his main power, is that he can take things in and learn really well. That's also why Goku, like, the Kamehameha, Goku's, like, signature power is not his. He learned that from his teacher. And his whole thing, he's able to learn and surpass people faster because he can. That was the start of it. Now it's whatever the fuck Goku is, but, you know, it comes from those same roots that Mori's drawing on, which is cool. I like that, and I like that they followed through with it. And I also like that they stuck with it. And I appreciate the show for this in general, but that they stuck with the same aesthetic and didn't, like, if they were going to draw upon that. They already drew so much from, like, it seems like from actual lore or from actual direct inspiration, not, like, taking things here and there, turning it into its own thing. It seems like the writer stuck with, okay, I'm going to take these historical figures or these specific things, and turn them into like the powers of the show. And they stuck with that. He didn't at least where it mattered with Mori, didn't like stray too far away from what makes Sun Wukong. Not, and again, this coming from someone who is not steeped in that culture and doesn't really know too much about all that shit. But it's just cool. I really appreciate the consistency there. It's really awesome.
Yeah, it was also interesting to throw in there like that he is a god, like he is the literal god, which is what
Sun Wukong isn't like, I don't think he's a god like per se.
Well, in the show they said he's like an actual god.
He's like an actual god.
So
But
the whole thing is drawing on the power of the gods, whether that's a literal god or a war hero or
it's like
whatever.
Sun Wukong is like an ancient king, basically a god, but not like how Thor is a god, so to speak, but it's like not quite the same. Regardless,
that was interesting to throw that in there as like just something a little bit different. Like, okay, this power, the way that this power works has been established, but the main character is actually different than that. He doesn't even like, it's not even, oh, he has the most powerful guy lending him his power. He just is more powerful because he's not borrowing that power.
Yeah.
Which is really interesting, because it would have been easy to just be like, oh, he has the most power, he has literal God giving him his power, and that's why he's better than everyone.
Oh, yeah. He has, like, the God.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's not. It's coming from him.
Yeah. I just thought that's interesting.
It's kind of funny if you think about it, because he, like, again, because he, like, steals people's techniques, he is kind of borrowing that power in a roundabout way from the people he fights. Like, when he learns, like, the acupuncture thing, or steals, Daiwi's abilities, or the Moonlight Sword style.
Yeah.
Like, he is kind of taking the strength from other people, but it's his peers and the people around him, not like some higher, holier than thou thing. So it's kind of interesting that he's just like, I fucking will never take anybody's power. I'm gonna make it my own way. Except I will take your techniques and abilities and make them my own. Yeah. Anyway, yeah, good show.
I want to see it again. Like, friendship aspect, but not just like, we'll beat him because we're such best friends. It's like, we're all powerful and we're all fighters here. Yeah. So, and we can help you out here.
Yeah, it's not like Mori is. It's not like Mori. I mean, he did like was forced to let them come in, but it was it never felt like they were just there to stall for Mori or to it never felt like, oh, I just want to see Mori fight. I don't care about these side characters. I want to see them all fight together and be friends. I actually care about their relationship.
And like the soundtrack that they put over top of it is like, for a crazy fight, it doesn't really fit, but for like the bond that is forming between all of them, it really works.
Yeah, like the highlight of the season for me was the fight between Daiwi and Mori, because it was just about the three of their relationship and Mira coming in to like fucking knock them both on the head and like bring them back to basics and like remind them of who they are. Mm-hmm. Like it's that was the highlight of the season by far. And it makes sense because it would show the most character and it showed them being friends. And it's rare that it's rare for me that I actually care about like the relationships between characters in a show this short, but just in general, like when I'm watching shit, usually I just care about the story that's being told and I'm thinking more big picture. It's rare that I'm able to like just put all that aside. I don't really care about the plot. What I really care about is these like this not just the characters, because you know you watch shows, you care about the characters usually, but specifically the bond forming between a group of friends that feels realistic and not
it doesn't feel forced.
It doesn't feel forced.
And it's just I just really like the show because it's realistic. They have their ups and their downs. Even in such a short show, you see them like not being friends, testing out being friends, being like, no, I'm not actually your friend, I'm here to win, and then being like, okay, we actually are friends now, and then that bond growing stronger as the fights and as the time goes on.
One thing that here's something I really don't like, because it ruins how I feel and how I see the show. Why is it high school? it has to be high school because they're like it's marketed toward high schoolers, right? But like they're not in fucking high school. When did we ever seen them in high school?
Other than that, yeah. Other than that...
side characters who were doing, but they could have been in college.
Yeah.
He could have been going back to college. It seems like they shoehorned high school in because they were appealing to high schoolers, which sucks because it's way more powerful of a story. And it makes way more sense. It doesn't make any sense that they're in high school. It makes way more.
They all seem way older than high school.
They seem like they're 22. They seem like they're in their early 20s, which would make way more sense for their character and the way they live their lives. Like they don't live their lives like the high schoolers live their lives. They live their lives like they're young adults trying to make their way through the world. Like Mori lives alone. There's a bunch of family circumstances and weird shit going on with his life because he's the main character. But to like explain why he's living alone, when if he was just living alone because he was an adult, then you wouldn't have to go jump through all these hoops. With Daiwi, does he live with his family or does he live alone? We have no idea. You could assume he just lives alone.
Yeah, I would assume he's the kind of guy who lives alone.
And Mira is a teacher at a martial arts school of her own, failing one, and it's her family one.
But and she lives with her uncle.
But
that can still happen. Yeah. Even if you're in your early 20s, you can. I mean, probably living with family.
That's not super uncommon.
It's kind of normal.
More in the East, apparently, from what I've heard. But still here, like, you know, it's not uncommon for people up to their fucking mid-20s to be still, like, living at home with their parents.
If it's
while
more
you're, like,
convenient.
if you're making a life for yourself outside of it. Or just a deadbeat like me. But, it's, you know, that's just one thing that, now that I've seen the whole season, I can say that without, like, oh, well, maybe they'll show more of this or that. We've seen the whole season. They don't seem like high schoolers. And now they're,
like, going on this crazy adventure.
It doesn't make sense that it's high school. It doesn't make sense that it's high school. It would make way more sense if it was just the tournament. The World Martial Arts Tournament. But they have to connect it to, like, high schoolers and this, like, and to, you know. But it could be anybody.
It is interesting to talk about that because some of the characters are, like, literally only in high school on a technicality. Like, they're... Like, that one side character...
The old guy who's going back to high school?
Yeah, he's going back to high school.
Like, what if he was just going back to university? People actually do that.
Yeah.
Like, go to classes at a community college or at a university near where they live to try and, like, get training. Or
if it was, just some kind of, like, tournament that not even necessarily it had to be university students. It could just be anyone in their 20s. Or anyone ever.
Like, why... Like, you... it doesn't make any sense.
I think it's because... They knew that, like, the key was going to be in, like, this age range.
Yes.
So they were just waiting for that to happen. And I was also thinking, potentially, being a teenager, like, gaining your powers can happen at that time.
Maybe. But that's all, like, headcanon stuff, you know?
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. But so I'm saying that, like, maybe that's how it works. Or maybe that is explained in... like the source material potentially because they did cut out a lot.
Maybe, yeah, I could believe that.
Which we've found out that they've cut out a lot, but the best part about this adaptation and why we prefer this over Tower of God is although I can tell that we're not getting the full story, I don't feel cheated by that.
Yeah, 100%.
I don't feel like, however, I wish that there had been 2 seasons of this. We've talked about this off camera and on live streams that the whole first season could have been up to like episode 5 of this show. The finale of season 1 of God of High School could have been the Mori versus Daiwi fight, and that could have been like the climax of that, and then the second half of the season could have been season 2. But I'm not actually that mad about it, and I don't think it was for the worse necessarily that it was this way, because it's seeming like that this was the prologue, but they gave adequate time. I feel super bonded to the characters. I'm ready to, like, make the jump into the new non-tournament arc phase of the show. I'm ready to go with them and to go on this journey. So I feel like it accomplished exactly what, as sort of a prologue-y start to a story, that it needed to accomplish.
Yeah, by the end of it, you're introduced and primed for the actual story.
And
that's what
you
a
feel
prologue
ready
is supposed
to move on, because the characters are at that point, you know? Yeah.
That's what a good prologue should do, and that's what we didn't get from Tower of God. One, Tower of God's world building is scattered because that's the problem with posting things like adapting something that was originally like a webcomic, or just like something someone was doing for fun, or like practicing their writing, or just, you know, fucking around and not taking it too seriously. If because there's specific things that need to happen at the start of a story, like establishing the world rules and everything, and like very wide concepts to ground you in what's going on. You never get that from Tower of God. The only way that you can get that, according to people who read the manhwa, is by paying attention to like author forum threads and like supplementary material and outside shit to influence how you view the actual story. I didn't need any of that from this. Like we said that earlier in this review. You don't need that to watch this show. And we talked like earlier in the season, like halfway through or slightly before halfway through, where like originally going into this season, I was like, this animation's good for the first episode. It's not great. The first episode animation was some of the worst in the whole show, compared to the great shit we've seen throughout. But I was worried at the beginning because they were going for such a explosive style that it's uncommon for a show to carry that through a whole season. They did, which is incredible to me. Like, the fact that I had those worries going into it, I don't think were unjustified based on my experience. But they didn't fall into that trap. They kept it consistent throughout this whole show. And we were talking about it earlier in the season, where I was like, it does feel kind of rushed. Maybe it would be better if they spent more or less time on this, or you know, move things around in a way. And then I just got to thinking, I'm like, I don't know if that would have made it better. I don't know if adding more episodes to the show would make it better than it is. I don't, like, people say a bunch of shit was cut out. Like you said, I don't feel cheated by that. I don't feel like I missed anything. I feel like I got what I needed. I feel like I got what was important about the show. There were some things where, like last episode, like there's a lot of shit that's not explained. But the thing about, again, comparing it to Tower of God, not, I know that they're vastly different in, like, it would be way better a comparison to compare this to, I don't know what else. It'd be like Tower of God is more like something like Hunter x Hunter than it is like God of High School. They're just both from the same country. Regardless, I don't feel like I needed more episodes to understand this. I feel like although a bunch of shit was cut out, I still had a great understanding, and I liked it. I really enjoyed the way that it went. I don't know if having it spaced out over twice as many episodes, which, realistically speaking, if they did, like, 13 episodes up to, that was episode 5,
yeah,
and then the rest of it, from 12 to, 24, 25, whatever they would hypothetically go up to, that probably would have been a better paced series, but fuck it, man. Like, we're here. We're at the end of it, and it was a great ride. It was an incredible beginning, and it was explosive and beautiful, and it really grabbed me in a way that I was not expecting it to, and I did not, you know... Let's
go back to when we didn't watch the first 2 episodes when they were coming out because we thought we would hate this show.
Yeah, we thought it was just going to be a hype... It looked like... You can tell when we're watching the opening, I was just like, this is a hypebeast dream. This is fucking esports, which somebody else, another reaction couple, I think, pointed out that it looks like an esports trailer for like esports players, the OP. Anyway, it doesn't, you know, it looks like a fluffy bullshit show, and it kind of is, but it does it better than anyone, and it was, you know, it accomplished its promises. It didn't promise more than it could achieve, and it achieved more than it promised, because what it promised was a bullshit show about fights. What it gave you was a bullshit show about fights that has characters that you can care about, and that's already more than you could possibly want, more than it promised.
Especially interesting for a show that's so short, because a lot of Naruto is about the fights and, like, the journey that the characters are going on. But you have to, like, I'm just comparing it to Naruto because I haven't seen many other shows like that. But, like, you know, you go on this journey and you like the characters more and more once you're, like, 100 episodes in. Yeah. Then you're, like, really attached. Yeah. But this, in just 12 episodes, I already feel so attached to these characters, and they seem so real. Mm-hmm. And I almost cried when the show was over, like, just before that, like, final thing. the like final extra scene happened, I was like almost crying because I was just like, I feel so satisfied with the way that this ended, but I also really want more.
Yeah.
Which is, I feel like it's exactly how a show should leave you.
I think that's exactly what they wanted to achieve with the show. They wanted you to feel satisfied at the end, and they wanted you to want more so that you would go read the webtoon. That's the whole point. It's sponsored by Webtoon and Crunchyroll.
Yeah.
Like,
But I don't feel like, oh, I need to read the webtoon because I'm so invested in this show, or like, oh, I need to read the webtoon because
they left it on such a bullshit note.
Yeah, I need to know what happens because or else I'm gonna be pissed off at it forever. Like, I would rewatch this show just for what we saw. Like, I know we've been thinking, like, especially with Tower of God, we say it's worth watching, but only if there's gonna be. But potentially only if there's going to be a second season. And this show, we were thinking, like, maybe it's worth watching if there's not going to be a second season, but probably only if there's going to be a season 2.
I think it's just worth watching.
I think that's what I was just going to say. I think after seeing the whole thing, it left on a note that I would rewatch this years in the future just for what I saw. And even though I kind of want to know what happens next, I don't need it. Mm-hmm. I don't feel pissed off that I didn't get more.
Yeah, and there were janky things about it. Like, the animation sometimes was, like, they were trying to go for crazy Sakuga, but they just didn't have the frame count to make it work, so things look really, like, jagged and very pointy and stuttery. Sometimes the animation looked like that. Like, they just didn't... They didn't up the frame count, but they had the same amount of motion that would have required a higher frame count. So there were bad things about it. Like... And you know, it's not perfect. It's not like super deep, if you want. But you know, if someone was asking me like, what show should I watch if I want to like watch some cool fights, I would probably recommend this show. I would say One Punch Man probably if they were like a new anime viewer. But if they had seen One Punch Man, and were looking for other like just a casual show to enjoy, I would say this one, because not only they would come for the fights. And then they would stay for the characters. And then they might like it, and they might actually really, you know, take to it like some people take to Naruto or other big series. It's good, and it's really good. And I don't know how much I would like reading the manhwa because the animation carried it so well. But I might give it a try. No promises. If I do read it, maybe I'll read it on a stream or something like that. But no promises there. I might just read it and do reviews. I'm not saying anything like that. But it was good. And yeah, I would recommend this to somebody who was looking for a short, good, fun show. And not in a condescending way. Like, if you wanted something casual to watch, this would be a good thing to watch, because eventually you would get invested. It takes you by surprise because you're unexpecting it to be as good as it is.
I also want to say that the way, and a bunch of people commented on our last video of this saying that they got completely lost with this show and they had no idea what was going on and it just got super confusing.
It's like, what's to know?
And I just thought that was like... I just thought that was weird because I didn't find that at all with the show. And normally, by the way, for me personally, normally, whenever a show sort of like changes direction from what I'm used to it being, I don't typically take that well. I don't like change. Just in general. Mm-hmm. So, for this show, maybe it was because it was so short that I didn't get attached to it being one way for like years of my life. Yeah. And then it switches it up and it's a different way. But I thought, even though like the transition with that one episode that like kind of really set it all in motion, that episode was probably the worst one. Very rushed.
Which one?
The one with the crazy fight.
Oh yeah, I think that was episode 6 or 7.
Yeah, that was like the fight with the characters that we didn't really quite care about enough, but it was kind of a cool fight, but they were jumping back and forth.
Where Q and P were fighting and the tournament was going on and the Jin Taijin stuff was going on. Yeah. Yeah, all at the same time, and they just went way too deep, way too dank with that episode.
But that was like the only part that I felt like a little bit like, oh, I don't quite know what's going on.
Because they were trying to introduce the
where are they going with this? Yeah. But then immediately after that, I was like, okay, I completely know where we're going with this.
Because then they brought in Ilpio.
Yeah, we're transitioning out of God of High School, but it's quite sudden, but not too sudden. You know, like we kind of ended that off. Like, really, now it's not God of High School at the end when the town's destroyed. And, the key is found, and Mori has awakened, and now we're actually done. Like, they were kind of like, oh, God of High School is over several episodes ago. But I feel like now it's wrapped up, and I'm ready to move on, and I didn't mind the transition because it kept the same feel. The friends, the bonds that they made, still carried through to this new crazy world with, like, gods and bullshit going on, you know?
Yeah.
I just felt... I felt like it was a decent transition from, like, God of High School to gods.
Because they followed the formula, but you literally have to. If you're going to tell that kind of story, there's no way not to follow the formula. Because if you don't follow the formula of establish the characters, have a big, like, character arc in the beginning to make you actually care about what's going on, and then get into the actual plot. If some people try, and I think that was a big problem with Tower of God, is that they tried to do both at the same time, and it didn't work out because you need to care about what's going on before you actually experience, like, the deeper story. Because, you know, it's fucking Huey's Law, as Best Guy ever would say. It doesn't matter how important what you're saying is, you need to find a way to make people care about it, or entertain people. That's all storytelling is. And this show did it really well. It's all storytelling is you have something to say, you could write a shitty, boring essay about it. Or you could add some flash, you could add some color, some beauty, some poetry, some artistry, and then people actually care about what you're writing about. That is the entire point of exploring thoughts through a story rather than through something like what we're doing, or just an essay or a lecture. That's the most direct way to explore shit, but it's fucking boring compared to this. This makes you care about it. So it doesn't matter if it's a little bit more basic or not as deep. You need to make people care about what's going on. And they did that. The first couple episodes, big arc. Big personal arc. It ends with fucking Daiwi's shit where he turns over a new leaf. They become stronger as a pack, and you actually care about the conclusion to that. It ends on the fucking picture in the locker. And that's great, because now, it was jarring, but after you get over that, you're able to get carried over that hump and go through that bad shit, that like really awkward stuff of, okay, all the character stuff's done, let's get into the actual plot. It's awkward, and it feels weird because you are attached to the characters. You don't care about all this bullshit. But as you wouldn't be able to follow through with the story if they didn't make you care in the first place. Yeah,
and it's interesting because they make you care about, like, the three of them as a unit, and then they move on to, like, introducing the fourth character into that. He has his own trio. Well, he has his like, the guy who's with them, which is just kind of a friend, and then the two sisters who are like have their total own story. Like, they could have their own show just about that group of people.
But that's a really... Oh, sorry, go ahead.
And it's just interesting because then, like, Ilpio is coming into this group as a fourth person, which typically groups are three people, just in general. And then the fourth guy is just kind of like... he's like the Neville, if we're using, like, the Harry Potter trio, and then there's, like, the guy who's, like, kind of friends with them, but, like, on and off, and he's kind of on the side. But then Ilpio, like, he comes in, he's not as close to them, he has this bond with Mori, kind of, but then as it goes on, that bond gets stronger based on, like, what they're going through together, and it's not like, oh, I'm casting Daiwi and Mira to the side to make room for my new best friend. It's like, no, okay, we're actually all in this together, and we're all gonna fight in this fight against the bad guy.
And narrative-wise, it's a really smart thing to introduce Ilpio there, because that's what brings you back. It's like, you have the episode where it's super plot-heavy, and there's a bunch of shit setting up, but, you introduce this new character with ties and backstory that's already tied into the main character in order to... Because what you care about is Mori. What you care about is the characters. So, introducing... And it's again, a common convention. There's the, long-lost brother, where he's brought back in, and he literally calls himself, "Call me Big Brother Ilpio."
Yeah.
Like, they kind of force it a little bit, but it's fine because... because you already care about Mori, and it feels real. If Mori's not acting against himself, And
he reacts in a way that works with his character.
Yeah, Ilpio is both attached to Mori in a way that allows him to get introduced and attached to Mori, but he also has attachments and tendrils that spiral into the greater plot. So now there's another like avenue of connection other than just Mori and his grandfather, and then his grandfather's connected to all this shit. His grandfather's also connected to Ilpio, and Ilpio is also connected to, all this other shit.
And Ilpio makes for a better introduction to Jaggle because they have a history that we wouldn't really care too much about Jaggle if he hadn't personally, there hadn't been that relationship with Ilpio plus Ilpio's cousin or whatever. The whole and introducing him, because then you're like, oh, the character stuff is over, it's on to the fighting. Just kidding, the new friend is coming in and there's more character stuff, but it's in a new way, and we're making an enemy here.
So by introducing Ilpio, you are familiarizing the audience and the main characters with all of the bigger shit, because all of that is attached to him, and then through him you can get attached to everything else. The problem is, and I think they were teetering on it, and we were kind of afraid for the whole time, but in the end I think that they pulled it off. When you do that, you're also pulling the focus away from the relationships you already established. Dragon Ball is fucking horrible at this. They fuck it up every single arc. They make it worse. Okay, this arc, it's all these characters, and Goku's friends with them. And, we're best friends forever, right? Yeah, let's go on to the next adventure. Goku meets fucking Piccolo. They fight. Then Tien. Or no, first it's Krillin, they're rivals under Master Roshi. Then it's Tien, and then they fight, and then they become, fellow students and friends. Then it's Piccolo, and then it's Vegeta. And then it's fucking whoever. It keeps going. It just keeps on going, and everyone in the past is left behind. And that's a huge problem and a real danger when you try and do this shit, because it's a common thing to, okay, we got this big plot thing, we're trying to introduce all of these new elements, let's distill that in a character that can be a rival or a connection to the main character's past or something that he can grab onto. Okay, we do that, but then what happens with the rest of the people? Are we just gonna forget about that? And it was a danger with the show, but a genuine danger. I still had, even up to this episode, had fears that they were throwing the Daiwi and Mira aside, but they managed to pull it off. They came real close to fucking that up, but they did it, and I'm really proud. They did it,
and they helped in the final. The final fight could have just been Mori, and then Ilpio could have come in and been like, "Hey, it's Big Brother over here, and we're gonna take out this guy together because we're brothers." But instead, it was no, we're all your friends. We're doing this, and then Mori's like, "Oh," and then Mori wakes up, and then his friends are there, and they're just like, "Yeah, by the way, you have to go to where." To your home that you didn't know you had. Mm-hmm. And you need to go back to where you're actually from. And then they're just and we're going to come with you because, it's a great training opportunity. And they just throw that in as we're also along for this ride. We're not normal people after what we've experienced. We're not just going to be okay, bye. God of High School is over. I'm going to go do my sword thing, and I'm going to go be a waiter. That's she obviously still wants to do her sword thing, but obviously this is much bigger than that.
And getting this experience is actually furthering both of their dreams, because they both Daiwi wants to be friends with Mori. He wants to be on his level, and he wants to get stronger for his own. He's realizing in order for this friendship to be worth it, he needs to be on his level. So. He can't be on his level if he just wants to be friends with Mori. He needs to want that Mori wants it. So fuck it. Yeah, all right, I'll give it a try. I actually do want it. As a matter of fact, it just so happens I do want to get stronger on my own, regardless of him. And I've come this far, so fuck it. And Mira's well, if I'm going to practice and make myself a better sword user to revive my sword art, then this is the way to do it. And it's to go out into the world and adventure and achieve a goal. And then I'll come back once that's all over. It's said and done. And if I don't come back, if I die along the way, then fuck it. At least I was with my friends and I was doing what I want. That's the whole point of my style. It all ties in to the things that they've established and the things they've set up with these characters. People,
Yeah.
and like, we've talked so long about this and so highly about it. And I feel like some people are gonna be like, well, it's not that good. It's just fucking God of High School. It's like, you gotta look past, like, the fluff to understand what's being done on a deeper level as far as writing is concerned.
Yeah,
this is really well written shit, even if it is basic. It can be basic and well written.
Yeah, that actually being a sort of, like, basic has nothing to do with the quality or, like, the thought that was put into the writing and what they're actually trying to say here. Because something can be super complicated, and you might think that something that is complicated is well written just because it's complicated, and you might think that you're so smart because you can understand it and you like it. But that's not even at all. Take any writing class, or just do some
analyze
reading
any writing
and look at it.
Experience
and see...
story, and you can see that it's not the level of complexity in a story does not equate its quality or depth. Just because a writer might introduce a bunch of super deep concepts and obscure emotions that aren't, like, super common, doesn't mean that they're immediately they should immediately get more credit just because they're taking those risks. Mm-hmm. Sometimes what you need in order to create a good, engaging, and interesting and useful story is not to take these crazy risks and to explore emotions that are so idiosyncratic that only you understand what they feel like. It's part of it is relating to people. Part of it is, exploring things in an interesting way and drawing upon conventions. Like, if you think about it, while this is a very, like, shonen storytelling is very, a lot of people think of it as very basic, and I say the word basic because this is drawing on conventions. It's a very cliche sort of story that they're telling here. And obviously I don't mean that that's bad. We just talked for the last hour about why it's good. But if you think about what they're actually exploring, it's the deep, like, shonen storytelling specifically, it's the deepest shit that we can experience as humans. It's, like, the most basic, like, grand and expansive and all-encompassing type of story that humans can possibly tell and experience. It is the central story to our entire being. It's, take responsibility, shoulder the responsibility of your father or your grandfather in Mori's case. Protect what's important to you, build those relationships, do what you find meaningful, and pursue that to the greatest degree. Don't turn back on those who care about you. Surround yourself with people who want to see you succeed and who want to help you, and also help other people succeed. Defeat corruption, defeat people who are putting those people down, and help your community, and because this turned very quickly in terms of, like, the helping your community thing. This turned very quickly from a high school tournament to now we're in the ruins of Seoul, and what are we gonna do about it? And there is not even a thought about what are we doing here. We just came here to fight. It is immediately and it's not even, oh, you destroyed Seoul. They never even mention that. They say Mori is like, this is for Ilpyo and Sungha and for Mira and for Daiwi, and apologize, and, like, it's all personal. It's personal stakes. It doesn't matter. And that we talk about that in I forget which show, but that personal stakes are what matter. Yeah. And we've kind of been saying that the whole time. But I just want to reiterate that, because they never talked about Seoul. They never talked about the destruction of the fucking country.
The best part of saving every person out of there is that it didn't have to be this, like, crazy thing of, like, you killed all these millions of people. Yeah. It was just like, no, you're an asshole, and I'm gonna punch you in the face.
Exactly, yeah.
And it didn't need to be. The entire city didn't need to die in order for what was happening to be validated.
Exactly.
And that's the best part. It wasn't like, oh, I need to avenge all these millions of people. No, in fact, everyone...
The entire world's on my shoulders.
Mostly everyone survived that fight. There was very few casualties. And... everyone who got hurt in that fight was able to be healed. If they were still alive, they were able to be healed. And I was also going to say that the best part about it is the main characters aren't being forced into taking a different road. Like, they aren't like waking Mori up, be like, oh, guess what? Now you have to go, you have to go and do this thing that you don't want to do that doesn't align with your goals.
Yeah.
You don't, like, it's not like, oh, you thought you were just going to be a high school student, but now you have to go do this other thing. It's like, no, you wanted to fight and get stronger, and now we're just on a different path than what we thought.
And people call that power fantasy, and people think that that's kind of... were you done there? Or did you have more?
Yeah, I was just saying it's nice that it's not... It's, like, kind of a responsibility, but it's so in line with what all the characters want to do that it doesn't feel like they're being cheated out of their own lives.
Yeah.
Which is a nice feeling, because then it's not just... They're not just doing it for other reasons. They're doing it for themselves.
Yeah.
And not necessarily as, like, a revenge thing, which is typically when someone is doing something for themselves. It's like, I need to show them, or I need to get vengeance.
Yeah.
This is just what they're doing now. And they're all kind of cool with it.
And it's interesting. Okay. So, like, that's important. But people, what I was originally going to say is, and it is connected to this, but, there is something to be said for that type of story, because Mori is like a power fantasy, and people might look down on that, but it's the more cliched route of what they're doing. Again, they're sticking to those conventions. Perfect. There is something to be said for telling that other kind of story, but I feel like this is the answer to... We've been telling the story of the more passive protagonist, the neat guy. The isekais have been huge in these past few years. The guy who has spent his whole life not accepting responsibility, and the story is a journey of him becoming someone like Mori who was willing to take that on their shoulders. As far as there's a lot of utility in telling that story, and it's really useful to tell that story. It's good, and people really get attached to that because they can see themselves in that. I feel like a part of the reason why people maybe don't enjoy God of High School like they would maybe an isekai, something like Re:Zero, is because they don't personally relate to Mori's attitude of he already is the admirable guy who will go out and get shit done to achieve his goals. Mm-hmm. People relate more to, and me as well, I relate to fucking Subaru Natsuki way more than I do Mori on a personal level. But I find Mori way more inspiring. And although he's not, like, personally relatable to me, he represents he's already the Monkey King. He's always had that inside of him. He's always had the spirit of the king inside of him. And it was awakened at the end, but it was never a struggle to be like, oh, I need to find the strength within me to do this. He always had it within him. It was always within his reach. It didn't change him. It was that's an interesting point. When he was still in the form, I thought he was going to be like, oh, he's like half possessed by, like, all the memories came flooding back to him and now he's half possessed by this power. No, not even close. He always had the power within him. It's just when the need arose, and that's an admirable quality in a main character, like, archetypally speaking, the power, he can only draw upon the power when he needed it. He can't draw upon the power just when he's fighting anyone. Only when, it's like with Reinhardt's sword. He can only draw the sword when it's needed. That's the quality of a really admirable person. Someone that has the power to destroy the entire world, but won't use it unless it's called upon him. Mm-hmm. These are basic human things, and they're actually so deep to us as a species that people kind of overlook it because it's the stories we've been hearing in the fairy tales we heard when we were like 3 years old. So people think this is bullshit storytelling, this is cliche, we've heard it all before. Yes, there's something to that, but lately all we've been hearing are stories of losers, stories of guys who are super passive, the underdog, who needs to like grow a pair of balls and fucking go take on the world. Mori had the balls from day one to take on the world, and there's something admirable about that, and something necessary about that in the landscape of stories that are being told today. I
think it's also interesting the combination of the three main characters, like the main trio, is Mira and Daiwi are much more relatable characters than Mori. But Mori
100%.
doesn't look down on them for being like more flawed than him. Even though, and they don't hate Mori because he's too perfect. They just be like, I want to be like him. Yeah. He's a great example for me, and I'm just gonna try to be a better fighter, a better person, a better friend, because he's fucking great. And I don't know, I find it very refreshing that it's not, they don't play it off as a bad thing, they don't, like, make a big deal about, and because Mori doesn't view himself as being super great. Mori just wants to improve himself.
Yeah.
For himself.
He has it's a very intrinsic value to him to become stronger. It's not like that's what separates him and Jeggle. Is they're two sides of the same coin. People who have incredible inborn talent and power, but Mori accesses it and sharpens that power for the sake of it, just to do it because he finds it intrinsically meaningful to do so. Jeggle does it because he sees himself as superior, and exercising it is only a way to prove
that he's not a loser.
To reinforce that he is superior to everyone around him. But not even, like we talked about before, it's deeper than that, because he's just proving it to himself. He's not only so narcissistic that he needs to prove to other people that he's more powerful. There's somehow a deeper level of narcissism where you're displaying that power just to prove to yourself. You are the performer and the audience of your own story. There is no room for anyone else's input. So he's like the deepest form of piece of shit that you can have.
But he's also just, like, deeply, like, I kind of liked his character because he is kind of a piece of shit, but he also is like that because he's extremely insecure.
Yes.
And you can completely tell, like, his mom leaving him.
Yeah, literally selling him.
Is, like, that's what he's worth. He's worth some money to his, like, that was, like, his first, like, one of his big memories of his self-worth rides on the fact that his mother literally sold him.
Well, yeah.
And then his, like, new dad, who literally just bought him, is like, she's trash. She's garbage. And then he's like, okay, I thought I was garbage, but no, it's her.
Exactly.
Like, pinning that on something else, but still feeling like it's him, and, like, struggling with that whole thing, and then not apologizing in the end. Very interesting villain character, because typically it's like, oh, I've realized the wrong in my ways, and then it's like...
Yeah.
And then it's like... And then his last things are, I'm gonna go live a good life, which is what his mom told him.
No, I think he was saying that, I think it was the opposite. I think he did sort of recognize that he wasn't the best. He said to Ilpio, go live a good life, like his mom said to him.
I thought he said, I'm going to go live a good life. Maybe I read that
Actually,
wrong.
fuck it. No, let's not go back. Let's just keep talking.
But I guess either way, it's just kind of an interesting thing, because it's kind of owning up to it, but not going on a huge speech about, like...
Hang on, don't look at the screen. Keep talking. I'm just gonna try and find it.
I guess I don't know. I just feel like that's kind of an interesting thing for a villain, and it's kind of common to have villains that are evil because of, like, their own insecurities.
Yeah.
I think that's relatively common. But I don't know. I just thought it was kind of interesting, and the fact that he was never going to be the big villain of the show. That wasn't him, and we said that from the beginning of, like, before we knew that it was going to stray from the tournament so quickly. We thought that he was just going to be, like, the bad guy in the tournament, and then once we get out of the tournament, he's no longer he's not even a big deal anymore. Which is kind of true. He carried over into the next part of the story more than I originally thought. But I don't know. It is just kind of an interesting thing to have this villain who's, like, so evil, but kind of like you can kind of feel sympathize with
that's
them.
what makes a good villain is
Yeah.
That's why his origin story makes sense, is because why it makes perfect sense for his character. And again, it is a very cliche, conventional backstory. It's a very, like, Christ-like thing where he's a literal child, not Christ. Jeggle is a child. He is innocent. He is completely innocent, and he is betrayed by the person who is supposed to love him most and who he loves most. That's like these incredibly deep archetypal themes of, like, that's the worst thing you can do. That's the worst thing that can happen to a person. The most innocent person who has done nothing wrong is punished by the person that they loved the most just for being alive. And that's it. And tossed to the side. So it makes sense why he believes that, or why he thinks that he's, and then the person, the person who's like powerful, who takes you in, starts telling you that you're better, that you're better than everyone, that you that they're losers, that you should, feeding into that resentment and giving you the opportunity to act upon it. Being this super rich person, taking you in as their heir. You can be the heir to all this fortune if you feed into this resentment and this hate. And then he's literally consumed by it at the end. That's literally what happens at the end, is he is consumed by the very thing that allowed him to be resentful and enact that feeling on the world. It fits perfectly with the story that they're telling, and there's nothing wrong with that. I keep saying that because I know people are just like, this is bullshit, this is so basic, this is some basic bitch storytelling, and it doesn't have anything interesting to say. But I feel like it does. I feel like it goes further than any of the other, well, just try to live a good life now.
Yeah, I misread that.
Yeah, anyway. So he does like sort of come full circle in the end as he's consumed by his hatred, which also makes sense. He's consumed by his hatred, but he only dies after he lets go of it, and it consumes him in the end. But actually, it doesn't, because he like turns into gold dust and like flutters away.
Yeah, I was also going to say that it's interesting because typically, like, Ilpio could have been the main character of this story. I feel mirrors Jagel's a little bit better than Mori's, with his mom also ditching him. But then the change happens is, with Jagel, it was like, oh, your mom's a piece of shit, and you are awesome. You are so awesome, I cannot even describe. You just need to be the best. With Ilpio, it was like, no, you're trash. Stop. Don't even try with this doing martial arts. You're like, his uncle was just like not very supportive of him, and then the person who came in was Mori's grandpa and was like, actually, just do your own thing, and then teach Mori it one day, because
he'll need it.
yeah. And that's your thing, and that it's just kind of interesting, the whole like moms abandoning the kids, and Mori was also kind of abandoned by his grandpa, but that was a bit of a different situation, had nothing to do with whether or not he wanted to look after Mori or not. It was just kind of... It
was out of obligation. He had a duty Mori, to uphold.
And Mori, was really sad about it, but didn't take it the wrong way.
Yeah, he didn't take it personally because there was nothing to take personally. Jin had to leave and go, fight the good fight. Yeah, I don't know. There's a lot of this. We could keep going on. There's a lot of good shit that's being done here, as like narrative wise. Like the fact that Mira, like as far like if you want to talk about female representation for a second in storytelling and why it's done so well here. We talked about it a lot in episode 4 when it was like her episode. It's done really well. And it's done archetypally in a way that's not, she's like the damsel in distress virgin who needs to be saved from the dragon, etc., etc. She is an active force that okay, so we're introduced to her, right? In the first episode. What is she doing? She is like talking to these muscle-bound guys about how she loves muscles.
Yeah.
So what does that mean, actually? That means she's all immediately admirable. She is a participant in this competition. She has her own inheritance. She can bestow power upon anyone that she chooses, any man that she chooses. Because whoever she marries will also inherit her school, which is and her dynasty that she has.
Which her school isn't great right
That's
now.
That's not the point. That's not the point. Yeah. That's not what I'm getting at. So the point is, she has all this shit that she is protecting. And she needs to choose really carefully who she's going to spend her life with, which is true to real life. It's on a higher level, but fucking women need to really be picky as far as like choosing a partner. They need to be picky and choosy, because once you give that away, once they have a kid with a shitty guy, then this person is inheriting everything that their side of the family has gone to get like super archetypal here, but it's the story they're telling. So that's what that represents. It's like, so she will only accept the most admirable guy. That's why she likes muscly guys, the super powerful, strong guy who can uphold her family's legacy. And that changes as she goes through when she realizes, I can uphold my family's legacy. I don't need to give it to a shithead man in order to achieve the spirit of my father. Like how Mori is going for Jin and sort of taking on his burden. And he has a spirit of the king within him. That's another like father type figure. He has the power of the king. In Mira's case, she doesn't need a man to do that. And you might think it's like bullshit feminist stuff, but no, it's the other side to the basic male sort of dragon slayer, bring the gold back to the community, rescue the virgin, that type of shit. It's like that in her. It's recontextualized. That's where it does something kind of new, is that it is going that route where she is just the sort of holder of she can bestow her feminine ability on like of creating a family, finding a man who is capable enough and then letting him do whatever. No, that's where it recontextualizes and where it's interesting and where they do female representation well. Because they don't do it in a bullshit way of, this is how women are now. It's no, it makes sense with the character because they set it up in a way where it makes sense. And, it's really fucking good because I never felt once like they were pandering to me as if I was like looking for a feminist character. They just were creating a feminist character that was actually hype and good, and I wanted to succeed, not because she was a woman, but because all of these problems that apply to women, like, they all happen to apply to her specifically, but she was just a person that I wanted to succeed and overcome all of these challenges. You know?
Yeah, like, I also
it's
feel
just so
like,
fucking good.
The show, like, specifically with Mira and the whole thing, you might say, oh, well, the guys ended up coming in to save her, but it wasn't because they were they were just friends.
Yeah.
They're like her friends, and like her like sister / cousin, when she realized, was like, holy fuck, I have messed up so bad here, and I would never have like pushed her down this path if I had known what was actually going on.
Mm-hmm.
I just wasn't paying attention, you know?
Yeah.
And it was this like sort of interesting thing for like her family dynamic, as well as just her and her motivations going forward. And then I also think that the show does girl characters really well because they're just characters and they can kick ass and they can get their asses kicked.
Mm-hmm.
Just the same as any other character in the show. It's a fighting show.
Yeah. And
most of the teams have a girl on them. But it's not like, oh, I don't know. It doesn't seem like they're throwing them in there just to have some girls.
Yeah.
Because the girls aren't all super hot. Some of them are like super jacked and muscle bound,
mm-hmm.
which is not like a typically like, oh, hot anime girl look to have. You know, they could have gone. Even like Mira's look is super normal. I mean she's wearing like a sweater and like a skirt, and that's just kind of a normal outfit.
Yeah. She's
not wearing like something that would be that she's just there so people can look at her and be like, ooh, a hot girl fighting.
Mm-hmm.
They're just normal people like doing normal fighting stuff.
I think it's both. I think it's that they do that where the female characters are just characters. They aren't, but there are problems, like specifically Mira's problem of like finding a mate, of being a woman in a quote man's world.
And
they
like
attach
feeling obligated to like go down that route.
It's very specifically feminine like concerns. But they explore them, but they don't. They fucking nailed it with her, where they were able to tackle all of these problems that are specifically feminine, but not dwell on them like that's all the character is, and able to explore them in a way that makes us care more than just, okay, this is the girl time. This is where the girl makes her mark. This is where we got to give time to the girl character. They had it both ways, where they were able to do it both ways.
Yeah,
it's fucking great.
Her arc wasn't just about her; it was about the other two as well, and like a really like bonding moment there for them of like, we're all helping each other out here, and we actually really care about each other outside of the tournament. But
she still does have like that feminine energy where when Mori and Daiwi are fighting, she's the one who comes in and fucking smacks them around and is like, stop fucking around your friends. And it makes sense because that's kind of what women do to men, is when they're like being idiots and just fighting for no reason, they come in and wake them up and like bring them back to their senses. Again, super like basic cliche conventional storytelling.
However, it's not
shit.
Like, oh, I don't like fighting. Yeah. I'm the girl. Don't fight.
It's like, remember who you are.
It's just like
wake up.
But she like also fucks around with them.
Exactly.
And just plays
and
around.
And that's where it's more than just a bullshit, you know. Like, oh, she's
not the girlfriend character.
Exactly.
She's just one of their friends in this trio that just happened to be put together. And their friendship makes sense. She's not just and the best part is she's not just the smart one.
Yeah.
And we keep her around because she's smart.
Yeah, or she's not the healer.
We keep her around because she's useful to us. She's not actually that useful to them in any way other than she's their friend and she's supporting them
and she's
like
powerful.
A friend should. She's powerful as well.
But like that's why I think I said last episode when they came upon, when Daiwi and Mira were alone and they came upon like some people, or I forget if it was a character or not. It might have been Sungha, but and the other guy. But I think I forget if I kept this in the reaction, but I was just like, oh, he's the healer. Like, the girl's not the healer this time. I kind of said it as a joke, but it's intentional. They didn't make the girl the fucking healer, or the archer, or the ranged fighter. Yeah. She uses a sword. Yeah. She's the one on the front lines doing the heavy fucking damage. Like, they had it both ways, where she still is a girl. She still brings the female presence and energy to this man's world, to this world of fighting and violence. And she's able to compete in that world on the same level as everyone else, while still while the story doesn't need to pretend that she's not a woman in order to put her in this world. She still brings that energy. She still brings that femininity to the story without being a fucking dumb bitch, like just sitting on the sidelines. And
it doesn't feel like she's like shoehorned in there.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't
for
like
representation.
Like if in shows where they put a female character, but it seems so forced, I would just prefer that they didn't.
Yeah.
Because...
Like Naruto.
Yeah, like in Naruto, a lot of the characters seem like they're in there for visual representation only.
Or to sell volumes.
Or to say, like, yeah, there's some girls here, check it out.
Yeah.
We like girls in this show or whatever, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, some people might disagree, but personally, I liked it. It did, and the only reason that we were noticing it is because typically in a lot of anime and in a lot of TV movies in general, that's like something that always gets fucked up.
Yeah, and I know people are going to be angry that we've spent so much time talking about this, but I just want to say, like, I'm not like a feminist guy. I don't believe in radical feminism. I don't believe in all that shit. We're not talking about this because we want to make it a political issue. We're not talking about this because we care so much about representation in media and shit like that. That's not the point. The point is good storytelling, and yes, representing reality in that it's like I don't know. Like it's there are women in the world. They're half of the population. You can't just have an entire medium and not explore that in an interesting way. You know, like, what are you going to do with that? And also, it's a missed opportunity if you think about it. If you're only exploring this side of the coin, then there's 50% of the world that 50% of stories can't be explored, and that's some zest and some spice that you can give to a story that makes it more meaningful. And they used it here, and it worked out here. And it's not for some like, oh, we need to make sure that these it's not about there are all these stories. There's the feminine perspective. We need to include that because otherwise, you know, it's sexist or we don't have enough representation in these stories. It's not about that. It's about including this shit adds a level of depth that is otherwise missed if you just focus on one side of it. If like in this they it is still a masculine story that they're telling, like quote unquote masculine as far as the conventions and the archetypes that they're going with. It's telling a more masculine story, and it's a more masculine format. It's a more masculine medium. More guys probably watch this show than girls, I would hazard to guess. But they were able to explore that other side of the coin without turning it into fucking, fan service. Fucking Mira was the least fan servicey character.
I was literally just gonna say Mira is probably the best waifu, but no one's gonna be like, she's 100%. My waifu.
She's best girl, 100%. Well, not of the year. We have Kaguya to contend with.
That's true.
There's
However,
a lot of girls in Kaguya.
Like as far as someone who you'd actually want to like meet or hang out with in real life for a girl, like I don't know, she's just so normal that I feel like she like flies under the radar. But that's like the best part is because she's just a normal person. She's not there to be like, wow, I wish I could date her.
Yeah.
That's not the point of her character. And I'm not saying like every, great waifu is just there to be a waifu. But she is 100% not there for, like, her character is, like,
Not in the anime sense, but I think that because they made her so admirable as a person, that, like, she is someone that you would probably want to be with because she's a well-explored character. Very similar to Akane Tsunemori from Psycho-Pass, where she's cute, but she's capable, and she's her own person, and she's admirable, and thinks for herself, and is really smart, and, competent in what she does. That makes her a million times more sexy as a character than fucking that stupid bitch in the tracksuit from this episode and that one where she broke in and punched Daiwi out in the bathroom. Like, that's what I feel like her character is literally making fun of like fan servicey characters where she looks dumb, she fucking is dumb, everything she says is fucking stupid, and it's because it's all meant to be titillating, but they take it's such a good parody because they take it to the fucking hyper extreme where she's wearing this tracksuit with the V that goes down to her belly button and her tits are huge and she's literally crawling around like a caterpillar with her tits like they're another pair of legs or something because they're so big. It's so stupid and over the top, and it's obviously intentional because Mira is the antithesis to that. It's someone who is like, that's like, people look at that girl with the giant tits and like, oh fuck, that's my waifu. She's the sexiest girl in the show. It's like, no, Mira is 100% the sexiest girl in the show because she's a fucking person. She's not a goddamn sex doll on, like a robotic sex doll fucking fantasy. But Mira is a fantasy. She's kind of too good for anyone, really.
Well,
literally.
I mean, that's the whole point.
That's the point.
She doesn't need anyone.
Exactly.
Which is like, it's like, man, I would want to date her, but I respect her far too much for that kind of character, which is interesting. And it's nice because it's like...
Watch out, now we're simps. Now I'm a simp for Mira. Watch that.
But the thing is, it's like, so interesting as well, because I can imagine, like, I don't know, I really like the show especially, and I think like previously when like Mira had her arc, and then again when Mira got her Sharyuk before the other, like before Daiwi and before
Mori.
Sun Wukong was sort of released.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's such a power move to have her go first, and then she like was still relevant at the end. Like both times that she like had her moment, it was like, oh, she had her moment, she's done. Okay, well, she had another moment, but,
now
that's
out of the way, now we can get to the guys, right? That's usually what would happen, but it didn't.
But it didn't, and that's why I feel like I really liked this show, and I feel like I really got into this show, especially because some of the other shows that we're watching, the girl characters are completely useless and unrelatable to me in any way, and it's like, they're not the kind of person that I would want to be.
Mm-hmm.
At all.
Yeah.
And a good character for me when I'm watching a show, if I either to like a character that like is a girl or a character, either I have to admire them or really relate to them and like see, like if they're not a character that I necessarily like want to be, it's a character that I don't want to be, but you
understand. Yeah.
It's like seeing yourself in a mirror and noticing flaws, but still understanding.
Yeah.
and like I feel like for most people that's like what they like to see, either someone who they really want to be or someone who they are, and that helps them realize deeper things about themselves.
Yeah.
And for Mira, I feel like Mira is a fantastic character for, like, if there's, like, young girls watching the show. I feel like she's a fantastic role model because she completely holds her own and is just her own person.
Yeah, but there's an interesting thing to that, because if you want to explore that, it goes back to what we were talking about before. It's like, if that's what you want, if you want little girls or you or anyone, females, to relate to a character, why does it have to be a woman? Well, it's because fucking women have to deal with shit that guy characters don't have to deal with. So there's a reason you relate to Mira specifically, because the story they're telling with Mira is a feminine story. But she's, it's again, we're going in circles now, but it's like, there's intrinsically feminine things to do with her character. That's why she's relatable to you, where guys aren't, because guys don't have to deal with the same shit, so you can't relate to them quite as well.
Then like, depending on the age of someone watching things, it's like, oh, only boys can do that.
Yeah.
Like, depending on, like, the subconscious layers of just, like, that kind of thing in general with TV and fiction or whatever. I don't know.
We talked about that for a long time, but I think it's important, because that's something that's worth commenting on, because they did it well. They didn't throw it in your face. And they kept doing it well the whole time. They didn't throw her to the wayside because they wanted more badass moments with people like Ilpio, people like Mori, and it's good. I probably relate to Daiwi way more than Mori, and I really relate to him personally. I don't know, like, it's just it's good. It's really well written. It's the reason we're able to talk about why it's so well written to this degree is because it's following these conventions. All the groundwork, they're standing on the shoulders of giants with this show, but that's totally fine because they pulled it off. And they added some more, like with the female representation, with Mira's character arc, having her follow sort of the same thing of a very feminine type of story.
Yeah,
but recontextualizing it into a more modern take of, I don't need to fucking choose a man to hand this over to.
I feel like her character, like, if I can think of another, like, character that has actually done well, is Éowyn in Lord of the Rings, is just, like, super badass, and, like,
Éowyn?
Like, blonde. We're watching Lord of the Rings right now. And even though she's just... Yes. She's, like, a woman doing womanly things, but she can also hold her own, in this situation, and they're not, like, the same character, they don't have the same journey, but it's the same sort of thing of, like, when I was a kid, I fucking loved her because I thought she was so cool.
Yeah.
And, relatable in multiple ways, but still, showing that there can be greater things, and you can, ascend to a level that,
Yeah.
Is, I don't know, I just... And I might come across like, oh, she just is a super feminist and loves women characters, and it's like, well, I want characters that I can relate to, and that, it's just kind of nice to not have to, like, work things around in your brain of how you can relate to someone.
Yeah.
If you just relate to them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, great show. Thanks.
Almost 2 hours in.
Yeah, almost. This will be edited down, so the video will probably be more like an hour and a half or something. But hope you guys enjoyed our review and all of our reactions to this show. We are going to, I don't know who's still here. You can check the shows we're going to be reacting to next. Noblesse is going to be in that category. So for those of you who really like
since stuff, we're at the end anyway, I might as well list all the shows that we're going to be reacting to next.
Okay.
We have Beastars. We're going to be starting mid-October. We have Higurashi. We have The Day I Became a God, which you should maybe consider checking out, and Noblesse. Mm-hmm. So if you're here anyway, you probably like us, and you might want to consider subscribing
if you're not already. And for some, I know that some of like more ReZero people aren't subscribed, but a lot of people watch our seasonal stuff and don't subscribe. If you made it this far in the video and you're not subscribed, why aren't you subscribed? Just subscribe. You watched fucking an hour and a half of us. it's worth it to do that, and it helps us out. So consider that. Do what you want, but hope you enjoyed at the very least. We'll see you next time. I'm Carson.
I'm Lindsay.
Bye-bye. And thank you to all of our patrons, especially those in the Student Council: Zenge,
John Ortega,
Aurora,
Lewis,
Chris Janve,
Nelson Barbosa,
Kage Uzumaki,
Dreadful XR,
Brian,
Handicap Bonkai,
D23L,
Charles Liu,
Brian,
Michael Wells,
King Mr. Mew,
Rifleman Z51,
Brandon Bruce,
Fallow,
Mord Tarragon,
Alfonso Reynoso,
Josh Carey Gray,
Jordan Angu,
Lolly Convict,
Takamasa Baba,
Vanity,
Redacted,
Josue Gonzalez,
Zachary Pora.
Mohammed Buran Ahmed. Thank you guys so much, and we'll see you in the next one.